If you're anything like me, then you pretty regularly edit videos that probably also include some music, but sometimes mixing music with voice can be a little bit tricky. If you've ever noticed in movies and TV shows, when the actors talk, sometimes the soundtrack is still pretty darn loud and noticeable, but you can still hear the actors really clearly. So normally what I do, and maybe you do as well, is when there's voice and music, you just lower the music so that way it's nice and quiet in the background and it gives sort of whatever mood or tone that you're trying to achieve. Sometimes though, you want the music to be a little bit louder, but if you raise up the volume, then it's gonna interact with the voice and you're gonna have this chaos of music and voice and you can't hear either. So, that's where it becomes important to scoop out those mids. And a few weeks ago, I made a video where I shared some Final Cut Pro audio editing tips, but in the comment section of that video, Ron from New Record Day left a comment that I think was incredibly helpful, and he said, just a quick tip for those who are watching. I totally agree with Tom on dropping, well, first of all, who wouldn't totally agree with Tom? I totally agree with Tom on dropping the volume for background music, but another workaround is scooping the mids out of the song as well. This leaves room for dialogue and often fills up the rest of the frequency bandwidth nicely. I can usually drop my music -15 to -20 as long as I scoop the mids by 6 to 8 decibels, making a smiley face in the EQ. Give it a try. I'm sorry to say that I didn't immediately give that a try because it's kind of incredible. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how it works from my perspective. I'm sure that a professional audio engineer would handle this differently, probably a little more polished, but for me, for maybe someone like you who just sort of works by ourselves to create and edit videos, this is a really helpful tip. On my computer right now, I have a video project that I've been editing today where I've been playing around with scooping the mids. And the reason it's called that is because, just like Ron said, when you're done, you basically have your equalizer shaped like a smiley face. You've literally like scooped out the mids. And this makes sense since the human voice is typically in that mid-range of frequencies. So basically what you're doing is you're keeping the low and the high end of the music, but you're reducing that the mids, you're scooping them out, so that way the voice takes that place and the rest of the song kind of fills it in and you've got this full range of frequencies that just sounds really good when you're done. So right now in this project, I've got 2 audio tracks. The one on the bottom is the actual one that I used in the project. The one on top is a duplicate I just made. So normally, what I would do when I'm putting a song in the background of a video is I usually reduce it by 34 decibels because I'm 34 years old. It's the least technical way to do this thing. And then when you play it, to deteriorate the image quality. And with less expensive filters that use less, the song is still playing in the background, but my voice is coming out loud and clear. And you always want your voice or your actor's voice to be heard clearly because that is, you know, the most important part of engaging with the audience, telling your story, or accomplishing whatever you're trying to do. If we play the version with the scooped mids of that high quality lens, what you don't want is for that glass. The song literally like fills in more of the audio track. It's louder, but it's still not stepping on my voice. So here's what that looks like. If I click on the equalizer, you can kind of see I've scooped out the mids in a way that worked for this song and for my voice specifically. And here's how I did that. In this duplicate of the audio track, I'm going to reduce it to -20, which is normally significantly louder than I would leave a background track. If I play it just like that, that's just a side effect of that. You get glares. The biggest thing, it's really distracting. I could easily imagine someone watching that video and being annoyed that the background music is so loud. So all you need to do, click on your audio track, go over to your audio settings in the inspector. And this is all for Final Cut, but this would work the same in Premiere, pretty much any editing software that lets you equalize your audio. And then all I do is click on the little equalization icon and I'm gonna get a graphic equalizer. By default, it's set to flat. So all we're gonna do is scoop out some of those mids. You can even do it just while your audio is playing in the background. Quality lens. I start in the middle. What you don't want is for that glass to deteriorate the image and just start bringing them down. Expensive filters that use less high quality materials. Sometimes that's just a side effect of that. You get glares. The biggest thing is that you get this cross polarization pattern, especially in a filter like my cheap one, which goes from 2. Now this is very unscientific. I just kind of did it in a way that sounds good to my ears. Normally when I'm editing, I have headphones on so I can hear it a little more clearly. Sometimes a background song will have sort of an annoying high-pitched snare sound, so I have sometimes turned down more of the high end, so it's like a lopsided scoop, but it still works and it's the same basic principle. So that's pretty much all there is to it. This is a really powerful trick to have in your toolkit. Of course, it's important to be careful with it. You don't want to overuse it. You don't want to kind of reduce audio quality too much where your music sounds bad. You don't want to have background music playing at annoying levels where people really still are being distracted by what you're saying. But if you use a light touch, people won't notice that you've done anything at all, and that usually means that you've done a good job, as kind of unsatisfying as that can be sometimes. So thanks again to Ron at New Record Day for teaching me at least the basics of how to do this, and thanks to Scott Duvall on Twitter for being the one to ask how to do this and to point out to me that there weren't any available videos yet. So if you have anything to add to this or any other tips and tricks that make this technique even more powerful, I'd love to hear them down in the comments below. Yes.